put him, you remember? And once the game stopped, what? You remember? You were holding him. And by what game were you? Is Susie at what? No, I want to see her. Tell her come in here a second. I need your help. Whoa! Isn't that nice? That's nice. Come here. I want to say hello to the birthday girl, everybody. Wait, come here. I want you to say something to your birthday for yourself. What? What do you want to say to Susanna? Whose costume courtesy? What are you? And what? Agony Ann. Good. And who are you? Salam malakay shalom malakay elyon minalak malakay malakay Kodesh Baruch Hu salam malakay shalom. They're great, right? Feel it? Another few minutes, I think, right? What's up, Doc?
I've been pushing her to do it again. We're getting closer and closer to the silent one.
Who is?
All of them.
He can do these.
This picture was the best idea.
They love it.
That's why they're getting closer.
Oh.
Very glasses. You wasn't drawn. I can see that.
You know, the people that just came here, I didn't take a picture.
Who? Who just did? No, nobody.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I came in the present.
I don't see it. Yeah. Yeah, I don't see any kids. Yeah?
2 tickets.
Except minus one. Doesn't matter, right?
When they're ready to leave, if they don't have a picture, take it out.
Okay, you gonna try it?
Everyone wore a costume, right?
That's amazing. This is the greatest thing.
Yeah, 2 tickets. You want all those?
What do you have to say?
Yay, okay, here you go. Come on, Margaret, you next. You can put it a little closer, Margaret. Come on.
What movie did you see
Do
yesterday?
it.
You go to the movies yesterday?
Oh, yeah.
What'd you see? Was it good?
Okay, here it goes.
Right.
Oh, wait, because it balled all the way here. Bye, I need more tickets.
More tickets for Babe.
Did I have to take my beaker with me?
He's on call?
And I totally forgot.
Where's your phone, Bruce?
I closed the game for a minute. Where's my phone?
Yay!
Why don't you call them and give them this number?
I could buy pizza with all these tickets.
I have to get more tickets. 1 minute.
Who's shooting that golf?
Yeah, good.
Ladies and gentlemen, Ms. Danielle Couch, the world famous golfer, is getting ready.
Babe, try it.
famous?
Sit down here for a minute.
Queen's famous.
Hey, buddy.
Yeah, what?
Sit down here for a
Do 2 games. You gotta do 2 games.
minute. Come on.
I don't want. Oh, I'll do the golf. Mamma mia. Who? Mamma mia. Mamma mia. You have a few more pictures to take, Linda?
Yeah.
Linda, you have a few more of these to take? Oh, no? Oh, okay. Yeah.
Ready?
Oh, nice. Like right in my nose and my arm.
It sure is.
I think I'll take that behind you. You think that's a small camera? That shows you little. That's big. I never showed that camera. It's so big. I never saw it. I have a bigger one.
What?
My daddy has this, but it doesn't have a not a camera. That's a TV recorder.
Right.
I have one of them at my house. It takes like video.
Stop putting the candles in there. What? Yeah. Ask Bill or to just empty it out in the sink marathon. Unless you can carry it. The fishbowl. I'm getting nervous with that girl. It's finished. Could you carry it, Linda? Linda, be careful, Linda.
What do you want to do with it, Bruce?
I guess I want to empty it out. Be careful. flowers? Okay. Go in the kitchen and tell Eileen. She's in there. Go ahead.
This snowman sitting next to Yakko. Oh, don't bark at the video. This is your car. Me too, I still do.
You do.
Yeah. Give me back my nose. He took my nose. Let's see.
What happened? Who took your nose?
Meryl.
Who?
Meryl.
Meryl, where's his nose? She'll give it to you.
I have this.
You do?
I hope you didn't take me on that camera.
Why?
Because I don't like it.
You know what?
Well, no, I counted all of it. I counted 40,000. What am I now?
What's going on? That's it. Bad boys. How are those boys? Sue? How are those boys?
Pinocchio nose.
How? You know what they get when they go home? How many tickets?
Where's your camera?
Might be up there. Hey, be careful, guys. That could break.
I can't do this! We can break! We can stop it! Stop it right now! This could fix it! Take it! Let go! Do you do it? Okay, let's go. Do it! Stop it every time!
Two rotten apples. Soon it's cake time. What? Okay. We're gonna wait. What are you doing to this?
I'm a baby clown!
What you doing?
I'm a baby clown!
All right, why don't you take this off then, no? Who? Jennifer?
Yeah.
Jennifer, you want to take your picture on
I
this?
can't.
Now she's still taking it with the candles already? She's gonna
I'll just take it off.
She took my ticket!
tell.
She took my ticket!
Come here for a minute, please.
What do you want Susie for?
My hand!
Surprise cake's coming out
My hand!
any minute.
No!
Oh no, tell her not yet. She didn't finish her hot dog. Tell her not yet.
I'm gonna go in there right
Hey. Where you going? No, nobody upstairs. No. Doesn't want to? I take it off. Take it off. Hey. Come on, don't do that. Meryl. Sue. Meryl's fighting. Thanks, Teach. Thanks, Teach. Thanks, Teach.
With them in line for the food.
What was that? Even what? No, tell me.
That they're in line for the food.
No, somebody could potato chips.
Chaotic.
What? I don't know.
She saw the paper in it.
Okay, so you want to just... Okay. What's the matter, Margaret? You're cold.
Do we get prizes? How much tickets we have?
Well, everybody's gonna get prizes no matter what.
We have this much.
Wow. Yep. You cold? Close that front, this door here. Thanks, Eitan. Boy, is he big, huh? Thank you. So, what's going? You ready? So, all right. So, it's getting nuts in here. So, hey guys. Okay, everybody sit down now. Next surprise. Okay, so what? What? No, I want to be up for pictures. No, okay. I close that light, sir. She likes this. Thank you. So, you stay. So, you stay over. Susanna, you're over here. I don't know. Where do you want to be, so? You want to stand here next to me? What about him? Did I eat again? Okay. What? Oh, that's okay. You keep eating it. To you, happy birthday to you. Happy Get over there, Sue. Bring her over. Hold it. Wait, not yet, Sue. Wait. She's making a wish. No pushing. No pushing. Hey, no pushing. It's okay.
See the cake?
Hurry up. Two more. One more. Get the water gun. Hey! Lights on. Be careful, like we'll dive in. Oh, that's right. Okay, yay. I never heard of that one.
Me too. And the big one. Wow.
Yay! Everybody sit down and get your cake served. Everybody sit down. Okay. Oh, she's so popular. So. Lots of guys.
All right, guys, make a circle. Make a circle.
Oh, Jesus. Make a circle.
Everybody sit on the floor and make a circle.
Get off me.
What?
We're the first ones to start with the
Hey, Meryl. She's the craziest.
Everyone
Right.
sit in
A circle.
Spread out so everyone has room.
Circle.
Everybody sit. Spread out. Meryl, move back. Meryl, move back.
These kids move back too. The teacher at work. Wait, we need more room. Melanie, move back a little.
Guys,
Yes.
can you sit? Jennifer, go sit over there.
Okay, now you better have some good idea here. Do you?
Except Jackie. Yeah.
Oh, Jack.
Jennifer, you know what? Sit in front of the chair.
They're coming. Wait, they're bringing the cake in it. That's what it sounds like. She is, I think.
Sue, Jackie's sticking out. We have to make Jackie. Here, come here, Jackie.
Me too.
Meryl, can you fold your legs so she can get through? Go sit next to yeah, sit over there. I don't know that girl's name. Okay, good.
Watch it. Now do something quick. Before the cake comes
All
out.
right, guys.
It's time to wait with the cake. Yeah, I'll tell you.
Ready? Go ahead.
So get that. Shh. Shh. Matt, say it again.
I know it.
Shh. Okay, kid.
They have to go home soon. Okay, girl. You can play while you're eating.
That's right.
No cake? Good, Tom? Nobody wants cake?
Be careful, hold that straight. Where is it now? Okay. They're coming, they're coming. What?
I think they know it.
Really?
I know. Wait, no one raised their hand, but you know. Jenny's gonna tell us the lyrics. No.
Oh, that's Sue's getting.
Getting real uptight. I
So-
didn't mean to do that.
Let's do it. Oh, Ethan. Where are you? Ethan.
It's coming to the end, so.
Started that 2 years ago.
It's coming to the end. And here it goes. Say it again.
Yeah, she
yeah,
tells
yes,
us.
yes,
Yeah,
yes,
she has to tell
that's the
Jennifer.
last one.
Jennifer's the last one.
And she has to tell us it in a loud voice.
You know it?
Jennifer, did you understand what she said? Say it again. Tell her again.
No?
What'd she
Okay.
say, Jen?
Well, when I count to 3, everybody yell out what the message is. How's that? You ready? 1, 2, 3. Yay! Eat your cake, everybody.
I said before. I know it. When I got to you,
Who else wants cake? Me!
One child sleeping. One child sleeping. No, don't stop. Come on, everybody. You're not supposed to lie down when you eat.
Me too!
Let's do
I
that.
can't. I'm getting cake.
What? You didn't get your cake yet? One cake here.
Who else has cake? Jennifer? No?
Eileen?
Okay.
Who's the bride?
No,
What's
who's
it?
she won?
She has her sneakers
Who else
in the
needs
present
cake?
there.
Okay.
In case you need it. Right?
I need cake. Who else
Me
needs
too.
cake?
Me. Well done.
Are we
He's
ready?
working on it?
Are we ready for another
Two green lights on in there?
telephone?
In the middle, two green lights? Huh? Yeah, fine.
Who started the telephone last time? Susanna? Who?
Oh, well, I told Susie, and then Susie started. So
Okay.
Susie, why don't you start
Susie,
it
why
now?
don't you think of something and then you start it and tell it to Jenny. We'll go around the other way today.
There you go. Okay.
Okay. All right, wait a minute. We have to get the garbage.
I didn't even eat any cake.
Is this garbage in, honey?
Mom, I'm just gonna tell
I think so.
Mom, I'm just telling you what I'm gonna do.
Sushi.
Yeah.
Sue, say it right now, please. Slap in the face.
Okay.
No, no, no. Thank you. Thank you.
How do we shut it up, Bruce?
Okay.
What, sir?
How do we shut it up?
Tell it to
Leave it go.
How do we shut it up?
Let's leave it on.
Oh, oh,
Keep
oh.
shaking.
not in this. Tell them who you are. All right, sit down, guys. Everybody sit down.
Hey. Wait, hey.
Narrow.
Now keep going.
Stop.
Keep going.
It's over. Stop. You start.
Ah! Let me see your tongue. Okay, Sophie. Are we playing telephone again? Susie has to tell somebody. Let's do that now. No, we're not going to do Dr. Christina. Come on, Susie, tell her. If you're talking, you're not going to hear it. Come on, Sue. Start it over here. They're all quiet now. Hurry up and start it. Quick.
And if anyone talks, they're in trouble.
Go ahead. Tell the secret.
Good secret's gonna be told. Susan is gonna tell a good secret. And you better keep it and you listen to it. Okay, Sus, you got it?
I knew it. It happened. What? Oh yeah, I know.
You know, Bruce, you can put the pictures with the thing.
No, it's wet.
I have lots of clear. I don't clear.
I'm not doing nothing. I did. I'm getting tired out here. I can't shut it off. I don't know how to shut it off. Hold it. Quiet.
Something's going to break. Don't throw it. Guys, don't throw it. Something is going to break. Everybody stand.
Susie.
Stick 'em all. Yaakov, I see your mother coming.
the camera.
Come in here, stay.
Yeah, you.
Yes, come on now.
Who next?
I don't know, I had this.
Oh. That's it. Everybody, anybody on the picture? Michelle.
Not me, Bill. Yeah, funky shade of green. That's it. What would you call it? Chartreuse?
Okay, here you go.
Jenny,
Who you told this to work?
you know what everything's from here, Eileen? Ortle? Where's Ortel? Oh no, he likes to be called Ortle? You know what's crazy? Esty and Matthew are nuts, right? Are they nuts, so? Oh, great, another one. Extra. Who gave you that? Who's that from? Ortle Gabby? And who's that from? Who's that from? Ooh, look. Makeup soup. Makeup brush? What? Oh.
What about the Nakash?
What about it?
They brought me that big
Wait.
chocolate bit.
Oh, that's right. That was from the Nakash.
Who's that pocketbook from, Sue?
David.
It's nice. Who's it from?
Margaret.
This is from Margaret.
No, Margaret didn't come with a present.
This is what was this on?
They made a card and slide it.
Oh, there's a card on the other side, Mel.
Margaret didn't have
Watch
a
out.
present.
Well, she did give me
What's
that
that, Ollie?
job. That you get.
I said, you don't even touch yet, don't.
That's a little one. It's a bear. I know. It's a bear. No, it's a turtle. Happy birthday.
Who?
Happy birthday.
From who?
Jackie.
Who?
Jackie.
Jack.
Oh, and the other
It's
one-
a little brother and kisses Jackie.
and the other present is from Marissa, who couldn't come.
Oh.
Why?
I don't know why. They had to go to Long Island.
Here. Open your
The same thing.
Well, Jackie's getting a sister, right? That's like
Oh,
Meryl.
Meryl's supposed to bring us home, but no, we're talking about someone else. Meryl Krasny.
Chicago, final round of the 90th United States Open Championship, where Mike Donald holds a one-shot lead over Nick Faldo and Hale Irwin. Greg Norman finished up. He made a charge early today, but a couple of bogeys on the backside dropped him out of contention. He finished at 5 under. Curtis Strange still out on the golf course, but having some problems as he has slipped to 3 under par. Scott Simpson, who held the lead in this championship at one time, at 2 under. As we look at Nick Faldo right now, out at 15.
Roger, now, I did not see Nick on the first 2 holes, but I do not believe he's had to chip the ball the whole day. He certainly hasn't from the 3rd hole on. Just wants to bump this out. It'll break to his left, and it's very fast.
Beautiful.
On the tee at 12, Billy Ray Brown.
Good looking drive down the right center.
462-yard par 4, which has been the most difficult hole here at Medina in this championship.
A hole without a bunker. Tough drive there because you cannot see where the ball is going to land.
Mike Donald next to play.
That ball's hanging out to the right a little bit.
Caught the tree, and then bounced right. So Mike Donald with some trouble.
Let's see if we can find the trouble here. Now he's probably got that spoon because it's teed low there, and Mike takes the club away, hands, arms, club head together. like he gets back okay. Now, as he comes down, his left hip will spin out of the way. Foot slides through, looks okay, just left it open a little bit. Of course, going downwind there. Once you start it one way, it's harder to curve downwind, actually.
Jack Nicklaus, a few moments ago at 17, playing in his 34th Open Championship. He's at 3 under at one point in time today. Matter of fact, had gotten to 4 under through 7, but that slides by. By the way, Nick Faldo tapped in for his par at 15, and well, you remember yesterday the trials of Scott Simpson where he made triple bogey. This his birdie putt today, and a little payback, but it's not going to be enough for Scott Simpson. And right now, let's go over to our colleague Jack Whitaker.
Well, thank you very much, Roger. I hope you haven't missed what's been going on here in the last hour, because this championship has really taken off, and it's taken off on, as so often happens, a tremendous stroke. This happened to be a putt by Hale Irwin at the home hole, which lifted everybody about 10 feet in the air, and we're not down yet. Now it becomes a waiting game to see what Nick Faldo and Mike Donald can do as Hale Irwin sits by and anxiously waits. We had a little bit of a parallel to that back here in 1949 with Kerry Middlecoff, whom we'll be talking to a little later. But right now, we're all sitting back to see what Nick Faldo and Mike Donald are going to do about Hale Irwin. Roger?
Thank you very much, Jack. Weather's starting to pick up here a little bit. We had very clear skies earlier today around noontime, Chicago time, but they had called for some late afternoon storms, and we can see now that the skies starting to darken here and the wind picking up as the afternoon wears on. So we may yet get the weather even more involved in this 90th United States Open Championship. As you look back from the green at 16, dogleg left, tree down the left-hand side, and then back to the tee at this 436-yard par 4, which has been the second most difficult hole for these golfers in this championship.
Roger, you're right about a slight shift in the wind. At least it is behind Nick Faldo, but it is more going from left to right with him than it was a moment ago.
Exactly. Turned around to the north just a little bit more, I believe, Ed.
That makes this hole much more difficult.
What did he use off the tee there, Ed?
He hit an iron, I believe a 1-iron, and he's down the right-hand side. He's in the fairway, but he's going to have a long shot to this green.
David, he's left himself a long way back.
That's a 200-yard mark, and he looks 15 or so yards behind that, so that's a long carry up that hill.
Now, Mike Donald at 12.
Roger, Mike's tee shot did indeed hit a tree and bounce into the woods. He has no shot. Just has to pitch out. Cannot get on in 2. Boy, he played that well.
Sure did. Now, that ball's going to just settle off the edge. It did come through. You see the crossing there where the crowds come across, so he came off of that, or maybe his lie would not have been as well as he would have liked it to be.
Well, we might ask Frank Hannigan what they do about crosswalks, because that comes up every so often, and it would be of interest to me. How does the USGA play that, Frank?
Well, crossings are just through the green, no relief unless there's some muddy conditions, David.
Billy Ray Brown's second shot.
That's from 210 with a 4-iron.
And
beauty.
Safely on the green. You can see it starting to roll down just a little bit. So Billy Ray Brown, who is at 7 under and just 2 shots back, has a chance for birdie. This 12th hole, the hardest here at Medina.
And that's strange to a lot of people. No bunkers on this hole. It's a blind drive. They aim at a fairway crossing marker up on the left side. Fairway slopes quite a bit from left to right. You want to be in the right side of the fairway where the lie is the most level you can get on this particular hole. Then you're shooting uphill into this green. And again, one of the Medina greens, a lot of slopes. Terrific par 4.
Now 18, the second shot for Jack Nicklaus, who's 4 over on his round today. green at 18 for Jack Nicklaus. Winner last week at the senior TPC, collected his largest official check of his career, $150,000. And I mean, he was ready to come here and play this week.
And when he birdied number 1, Roger, you just said, well, is there a chance? Could he do it? Not to be.
Yeah. Feeling we'll see him back here in the Open again. This is his last year for an exemption, so he would have to get one of those special exemptions which Hale Irwin got.
Well, if he wins the senior Open,
right, exactly.
He could do it that way, and of course, that might be easier than getting an exemption.
And we'll see him in a couple of weeks at Ridgewood for the senior Open here on ABC. Now back to Mike Donald, his third shot at 12.
From 73 yards uphill. Mike, a very good wedge player. Little sand wedge. He needs to hit that a little firmer.
And he's left him that for par at 12. Mike, who's birdied, parred, and bogeyed this hole the 3 previous days. I was just checking, David, during the previous 3 rounds, Mike Donald over 13 through 18 has played those holes and 5 under par, so he has finished very strong here over these very difficult closing holes as we go to Mark Brooks at 13.
Win.
Mark coming off a birdie at 12. He is now 6 under. Now at 16, second shot at the par 4 for Nick Faldo.
Well, Roger, as I said, the good news is he's in the fairway, but he has 210 yards to carry the bunker, almost 225 to the pin. The wind is coming from his left pretty much. I don't think it's really helping him or hurting him at this point, but that's a difficult wind to hit a golf shot when it comes at the player's back.
Kind of wind you should never practice in because it teaches you to come over the ball.
Well, he's having trouble now. It's gusting and it's swirling. I can see our ABC blimp up high, and the wind is going across, but it swirls. A tree-lined golf course is more difficult to play in the wind than...
Yeah.
Well, let's listen to him.
Don't believe it's more across. It should be. I was that finished there. It should be more across. Must go like this.
Well.
Like this.
Well, Nick Faldo with a lot of indecision.
Okay, this is the shot, huh?
Not generally regarded as one of the faster players.
Well, and Roger, in this situation, I don't think you'd want to make a mistake.
No.
I think he's entitled to this time. Great long iron player, great control. He has hit it to the left side of the green. A very good shot. Again, he's avoiding the mistakes. He has a tough putt to 2-putt.
Sure does. Mike Donald for par at 12.
Might be the biggest putt of his life so far.
That was huge. Hale Irwin in the press room saw that putt of Mike Donald.
Have you ever reacted like that after sinking a putt?
Now this is Mike Donald, his putt for par at 12. He has not made a bogey today. He birdied the first 2 holes. man who's already played 18 events on the PGA Tour this year, and he said it was just a mistake that I wasn't in the Western Open last week. He says I messed up and I thought I was entered and I wasn't, so he took the week off and practiced, and benefits have been paying dividends as we go to Billy Ray Brown for birdie at 12.
Downhill, little left to right breaker, kind of fast. Billy Ray needs to make this one to stay in there.
So after the birdie at 12 that got him to 7 under, he'll have that putt coming back for his par as we go to Mark Brooks and a birdie at 13. Mark 3 shots behind Mike Donald. Even par on his round today.
Slow down, Mark.
It's too much speed. And Jack Nicklaus for par at 18.
Shot the same score he shot in 1975, 389.
Jack today, though, 5 over par, round of 77. 76. When Dapper Johnny Farrell won the 1928 U.S. Open by defeating Bobby Jones in a playoff at Olympia Fields outside Chicago, Farrell collected first prize money of $300. But at the end of the year, he collected $1,000 from a clothing company as the year's best-dressed pro. And for those who feel the recent technical advances in equipment have changed the game beyond recognition, let it be known that Johnny Farrell, playing in the 20s, used a metal wood.
Mary Brody won't feel the tiny lump in her breast for another 2 years, but she'll discover it tomorrow after her first mammogram, thanks in part to a new X-ray film created by DuPont that makes it safer to start mammography early. And for Mary, early detection means a 2-year head start on the rest of her life. At DuPont, we make the things that make a difference.
A lot of golf balls have come down the fairway, but only one remains the all-time performance favorite, the Titleist DT. Now comes the next level, a new DT with higher velocity windings for more distance off the tee. More than just extra spin, now extra distance is wound right in.
Hey, I know plumbing. I'm the one that connected these pipes. I know every inch of this sink, and I know when I'm stuck.
Well, Jerry, they don't make that setup anymore.
What?
But you can do it even better with the parts I've got here. And they'll last you a lot longer, too.
Yeah, I know every inch of this sink. But now, I know it a little better.
You can do it with True Value Hardware stores.
Ladies and gentlemen, Arnold Palmer.
This tag belongs to someone special. That means this bag belongs to a golfer, not someone who just plays golf. The USGA means something to golfers. It means we care about protecting and preserving the game. Isn't it time you show you know the difference between being a golfer and just someone who plays golf? Call now to become a USGA associate.
And welcome back to our final round coverage of this 1990 United States Open Golf Championship. Mike Donald leads Nick Faldo and Hale Irwin by 1 as we go to the tee at 13.
That's a 6-iron.
Billy Ray Brown's tee shot nicely on.
Hole playing 200 yards today, downwind, downhill.
Now, Nick Faldo. This is at 16, and this very long putt for birdie. He bogeyed this hole yesterday and has left himself a very tricky putt for his par. As we move back to 13, Mike Donald, who birdied this hole during the first round and has parred it the last 2 days.
This is a very important tee shot for Mike with a 5-iron. He's been hitting the ball extremely well today with his irons. Mike, a left to right ball striker. Started that just left of the flag and is cutting in just towards the pin. Beautifully played.
Tremendous shot. Nearly on top of Billy Ray Brown's golf ball. You could put a napkin and cover those two up.
Great shot after that bogey at the 12th hole. I mean, you really had to get a par. I'm sorry, yeah, when he was in trouble there.
Now, a moment ago while that was happening, Nick Faldo for par at 16. To remain one shot back.
What fools the players on 16, that green has been redone a little bit, and that slope softened in the middle of it. It's a little slower than the others.
And Faldo tapped in and made bogey, so he drops to 7 under for the championship. Mike Donald, a one-shot lead over Hale Irwin, who shot a 5 under 67. Nick Faldo and Billy Ray Brown at 7 under. And to take you home in this 90th United States Open Championship, let's go over to Jim McKay.
Thank you very much, Roger. There's Nick Faldo. He must now birdie one of the last 2 holes to have a chance at a playoff tomorrow. So there's a story behind every leader. Can Mike Donald, at age 34, after more than a decade on tour and only 1 victory, perhaps grasp the one opportunity of a lifetime? Can Hale Irwin become the oldest man ever to win the U.S. Open? Can Nick Faldo take step 2 on the road to a Grand Slam, the professional Grand Slam that's never been achieved? Seems like a very appropriate time to have a visit with a man who must be reminiscing as he sits watching down in Tennessee, the man who won the championship on this golf course in 1949, Kerry Middlecoff. I think his friend Jack Whitaker can have a word with him now.
Hello, Kerry, can you hear me?
Jack, I can hear you, and you're beautiful as always, old buddy.
Doc, what are you thinking about down there 41 years ago? Does the course look anything like it did then?
Well, the last 6 or 7 holes I studied maps this morning are a little bit confusing, but I think the great thing about this tournament is, you know, the number of guys that this morning had a chance to win. And it's a tournament for all ages, you know. Hale's 45, and Jack played good as 50, and they got young guys playing. And I think it proves that there's more good players out there now. And I do think the course played a little bit easier than it did, but nevertheless, the cup's only, you know, about that big around, and still makes it hard to score. But I'm most impressed, and I think it's great for golf, Jack, to, you know, to have these different age guys playing this good, and I think it's just wonderful.
Well, there's a little bit of a parallel here. You had to take care of Clayton Hefner yourself, didn't you, in that final round? And then sit and wait to see what Sam Snead did.
Clayton Hefner and Buck White played with us, and he was leading early in the last round. And I kept thinking Clayton, you know, weighed about 240 pounds. He's going to get so hot he couldn't walk, but it didn't. And he missed about a putt no longer than 8 feet the last hole to tie. And then I think Sam was an hour behind and bogeyed 17. But, you know, it's a good golf course. I'm astounded how low they're shooting. But I say that the fact that Jack Nicklaus, 50, Hale Irwin, 45, and right down the line, that many guys are staying in there, and they have played good. I have watched every day, and I'm just, you know, I'd love to be in an Open if I was young enough, but I'm not sure I'd like to be in one where this many guys are chewing at you, you know. There's no way you can run off and leave everybody, but it's most impressive, and I congratulate Madonna and the USGA. you know, the way the tournament's coming out. It's exciting.
Well, we thank you very much, Kerry. Always great to talk to you. Thanks for all those thrills you gave us, and we hope to see you soon.
Well, thanks to you, and you lucky devil, you still got a job, and I'm unemployed and all that. But you do a great job, and all of the ABC guys do, and I thank you. I enjoyed being on, and I'm going to watch it. And, you know, George May used to say, if there's a lot of people tied, there wouldn't be a playoff. And if there were separation, there would be. And I think he may be right this time. Looks like somebody's going to win it.
I think so, too. Thanks again, Doc. Great to talk with you. Jim?
Okay, Jack. Thank you, Kerry.
Great to see him again.
17th tee. Nick Faldo, now trailing by 2. 1 behind Irwin, who shot 67 today.
The wind coming from the left, Jim.
Okay. Good shot.
Needed to get back down there a little shorter so that putt, the higher you are up on that green, the more it breaks and the faster it gets. His caddy there is Fanny Sunison, a very fine player in her own right.
5. Yeah, come back. Fanny Sunison, who's been caddying out in Europe for some years, used to caddy for Howard Clark, who's come over to Nick now. Mike Donald with that birdie attempt on 13. Leading by 1 over Irwin, who sits and watches somewhere. The mark for the other ball between his feet. It got there, but just that inch or inch and a half off from the hole. So the par will keep him at 9 under, and it is still true that in the history of the U.S. Open, as far as anyone can ascertain, never at any moment has anybody been 10 under par for the championship. Now Billy Ray Brown, this also on tape, playing, of course, with Mike Donald.
I just never had the speed there. Of course, it's not a putt you can run at. His opportunity is not there to be aggressive.
You would have thought he might have learned a little more from Mike Donald's putt. However, there's the way they stand as we're starting to hit for home in the U.S. Open. There was a time when it was not unusual for amateurs to win the U.S. Open championship. The last time it happened was in 1933 when Johnny Goodman edged pro Ralph Gouldall by a shot at the North Shore Golf Club outside Chicago. Goodman was the only national champion ever to come out of the plain state of Nebraska, and he didn't come from a moneyed family. When Goodman first burst on the national scene by upsetting Bobby Jones in the 1929 U.S. Amateur, Goodman traveled to Pebble Beach from Omaha in a cattle car.
Jerry comes in every Saturday. Last week he wants copper pipe and solder. Now I know Jerry, so I say don't forget to shine the joints before you flux. And he says flux, so I told him to call me if he hit a snag. I think he called 11 times.
Good service is why people choose a place like Evers Hardware Store, and why places like Evers Hardware choose USF&G Insurance and their independent agents.
USF&G standing behind me.
Bob, 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 the rubber rain. What do you think Mom's gonna do when we show up?
Hopefully she'll feed us. It's good to see you, you know, it's been too long.
One day it could all come down to a few inches. For those few inches, it's good to know you have Goodyear tires.
I guess they're home. I miss you. I miss you too.
That's why we say the best tires in the world have Goodyear written all over them.
Okay, the 13th is 185 yards, right? Hit it stiff with a 5-iron.
Same swing, same clubs. I'm just hitting it far.
I got home in 2 on 16 from the blue tee. I didn't know I could hit a golf ball that far.
Ultra's exclusive 432 dimple computer design means added distance that can improve your game. Saturday, Sunday, and Monday.
So when we got to 18, I figured, what the heck? I can carry that water. I mean, I could feel it.
Did you know that only 1-800 service automatically covers you if something keeps you from getting calls? With AT&T, you're always protected by our 800 assurance policy. Within 1 hour, we can reroute 800 calls to any working phone at any other office, guaranteed. Reliability, another AT&T advantage. Call now for our special 800 offer.
Nick Faldo needing a birdie on one of the last 2 holes in order to have any chance for a playoff tomorrow, which would be at 18 holes in the U.S. Open tomorrow. ABC would be here, of course. Yeah, now he'll need birdie on 18 to have any opportunity.
Well, they better clean that one up, too. And that's, at this point on the 71st hole, Jim, they tend to get a little touchy with the nerves.
Now, this was Billy Ray Brown's tee shot a few moments ago, and it was not a good one.
Well, he's made the same mistake. He's hung it out to the right. He's just not getting through the ball, Jim.
Several times he's done that.
Okay, 14 is one of the new holes at Medina. You took the green of the old 15th, and they went back across the creek there. Maybe that's why Dr. Middlecoff didn't recognize some of this. But they played the shorter tee this week, so a player can drive up to the top of the hill, and you can at least see the green. Now, it's a hole, though, where many of the players, depending on the conditions, but many of the players this week have laid up there with an iron and then pitch into the green. Very difficult layup there because you cannot see the fairway on your second shot. You can see they're playing up short of the tees there. 2 tees behind where Mike is.
Now Mike Donald's tee shot on tape.
Kick.
So both in the final pairing have found the rough. One on the right, one on the left. Now at the end of the first round, Mike Donald was 4th, Irwin was 8th, and Faldo was 40th. Look at that. Donald 3rd at the end of the second round, Irwin 5th, Faldo 37th. At the end of the third round, Donald in the lead there, Irwin 20th, and Faldo had moved all the way up to 13th. At the moment, 1, 2, 3. Faldo tied with Billy Ray Brown. Now this 14th hole, fortunately for men in the last pairing, is a par 5. Could be forgiving.
Well, if you had to pick one of the last few holes to hit a poor drive on, it would be the 14th. If you had a choice.
Must putt for Faldo. Okay. This has been a hole of disaster for many players, a hole of opportunity for others in this championship. A really pivotal hole so far. It could yet be the one that decides.
Come on, now get that one back.
Back on Friday, for example, Ian Woosnam of Wales came to this hole right in contention.
This was a 7-iron, and he said he just came over the top of it, and he got to the left side here. Of course, this particular hole, you miss the green, it is difficult just to make a 4. Now, this second shot got under it a little more than he meant to, but he had to try to run it through that tall rough there, Jim. Now, he still doesn't have any bargain.
Par 3 hole, and this is his third shot. It's just so fast you can't stop it.
And at that time, he was 5 under for the round.
And now his 5th shot. And it was a triple bogey 6 for Ian Woosnam. From there on, he was never able to get back into it. He wasn't alone. Scott Simpson was leading the championship yesterday. He put his tee shot in the bunker and back. You don't want to do that. Again, trying to be too delicate, I guess, Dave.
Yes, he said that lie was a little downhill, which produces a low sort of shot in hot, so that you brought the lake into play then.
Third shot. Couldn't stop it. And only the collar stopped it eventually. 4th shot. Fifth shot. And again, a 6, a triple bogey had taken someone out of contention. On the other hand, This was Curtis Strange trying to fight his way back into it yesterday on the same hole. In the end, it was not to be. And this was Faldo. After the pickets were chanting, you could hear them outside the golf course. And he turned it into a birdie. And he's still in it. Billy Ray Brown looking it over.
If I hit it there, baby, we're in lots of trouble. Might help you.
Billy Ray going sort of an adventuresome route up to the right of two large oak trees and up over a forest of oaks, trying to hook it back into the fairway. That's at least the intended line of his second shot.
That's Jerry Pate talking out on the fairways with him. He's got a good look at it.
Well, an uphill line helps you to produce a pull or a hook, so we'll see what Billy Ray does.
JF. Oh, he hit a beautiful shot. Might have hooked it too much. Going to go through to the left side of the fairway, into the rough. But still, he made an aggressive play there. Now he can reach the green in 3. If he pitched out, there would be no way he could hit it in 3.
And it is a par 5. So Billy Ray will not give up. He's still only 2 shots behind Donald. Now Faldo at 18.
Jim, I'm standing up the fairway. It looks like he hit an iron off this tee. I'm very surprised. He
needs a birdie.
Well, he does, and it puts him 15 yards short of that bunker. He's going to have a very long second shot. I thought for sure he would go with a driver here.
Can you think of any reason, Dave, that he might have done that?
Well, obviously just wanted to put it in the fairway. I don't know that that was the right play at this particular time. And especially the left side of the fairway, I don't think gives him the best entry into the green here.
Now the leader in the rough on 14.
Well, that was a terrible lie. He got the ball out, but it rolled over into the left rough.
But again, it's a par 5. Can he get to the green?
He's got a long ways to go. Around 200 yards, Jim, and not a very good lie for his third shot. Sitting in the short rough, but the ball did sit down a bit.
That's the way they stand. Let's go over to Roger with a fine competitor.
Thank you very much, Jim. Jack Nicklaus joins us now. Jack, you birdied the first hole today. Looked like you were going to get yourself into this tournament.
Well, that was about all I did all day, Roger. I birdied the first hole, and then I gave it right back, and I had my problems on the back nine. I shot 40 on the back nine, and I was even par for 11 holes, and I needed to make something happen, and I went the other way. But that's the way it goes sometimes.
Are you surprised that more people haven't gotten themselves back into this tournament? Norman made a charge early. Curtis was around for a while, but they've fallen back, and Donald's held very strong.
Well, you know, the golf course is playing very difficult today. It's the wind is really swirling. You're not sure whether it's whether it's going to take the ball or not take the ball, or what it's going to do, and of course that's what the history of Medina is. When we played here the last time, the wind came up and you just never knew what was going to happen, and the same thing's happening today. It just didn't happen early enough in the tournaments for Medina to totally win out.
Sure. We saw Nick Faldo make a bogey at 16. These last 3 holes are going to be really difficult coming in. Well, maybe not so much 18, but 16 and 17 appear to be.
Well, 16 is a very, very difficult place to get the ball anywhere near the pin, or the shot anywhere near it, and of course 17 you can.
It's Mike Donald's third shot.
With a 5-iron from 194. Ooh, just carried the bunker's going to be through the green.
Well, it's running off the back of the green and onto the fringe now, so that's where he lies in 3 at that
was a
par
bad
4.
break. That was a bad break. He put an awfully nice shot there from where he was.
Now, we mentioned Nick Faldo a moment ago. He is looking at his second shot, and Jack, he went with an iron off the tee at 18.
Well, you know, if I were 7 under par, I don't know what I would do right now until I wasn't 7 under. So I don't know what was running through Nick's mind. Nick is obviously very confident with his iron play, and he's very confident with his putter. He must not have been quite as confident with his driver. And I think that the whole key to finishing a golf tournament is putting the ball in play on the 18th hole. And I just don't think I think he should have played the driver or a 3-wood to get it up far enough. The pin is in a very, very difficult position. And he's got a long, tough shot here.
Yeah, 212 tough.
Heard his caddy say he's got 212. He also used an iron off the tee at 16. And Ed Snead, any reason why he would use an iron off the tee there that you can think of?
Well, I don't think it was a bad play at 16, and I'm not going to say it was a bad play here, but I was very surprised that Nick being 1 behind. Now, if Hale Irwin were still on the golf course, it might be a different story, but Hale is finished.
Well, Nick's as long as I am. Ed and I just knocked it over the bunker there just a few minutes ago, so I see no reason why he couldn't have knocked it over the bunker.
I would think he could have hit a driver and maybe be going in here with about a 7 or an 8 iron.
That's right.
But he's got a 3 now.
Right.
212 yards.
Oh, be right to me. Be right.
Guess he knows what he's doing.
He knew exactly what he's doing.
He knew what he was doing, Jack. What can I say?
No, you can't say a thing. And he put the ball in the right place to putt from, too.
Oh, that's what's so wonderful about this game. Everybody has a certain way they go about it.
Well, you know, he had a mindset. His mindset was to put the ball in play and make sure that he had an iron to the hole. I mean, that's obviously what it had to be. He just didn't want to take any chance of playing out of the rough.
Now, out to 14, Billy Ray Brown, his 3rd shot.
That's a pitching wedge from 135 into the wind. Boy, it needs to get up just a little bit.
Safely on the green there.
Boy, he had a great shot, Rod.
14th. He'll have a long birdie putt. And our leader, Mike Donald, on the back fringe there at the 14th hole. And let's go back to Jim McKay.
Okay, Roger, well, as you see on the leaderboard, we have a 4-way potential here, at least at the moment. But that looks like that's it. Mike Donald with the 1-shot lead. Hale Irwin finished with a round of 67 and a mammoth putt on the last hole. Nick Faldo here must make his birdie putt in order to have a chance at a playoff to tie Irwin and be 1 shot behind Donald. Billy Ray Brown can still fight his way mano a mano with Mike Donald as they play together down the final holes. That would appear to be it. So we could have a winner, or we could have a 2-way, a 3-way, or a 4-way playoff tomorrow. There you go. Plenty of fans for Nick Faldo, the current Masters champion. Lost this championship in a playoff 2 years ago to Curtis Strange. He's won the British Open. He's won the Masters twice. And there he is on the final green. On 14 now. We have the men who still have a long way to go, which means opportunity and trouble. Well, Jack, you've been so many times in the position that Mike Donald is in right now.
He's got a tough little shot here. Leading by 1 shot, probably about 60 feet from the hole, breaking a little bit right to left.
He birdied the first 2 holes and has parred every hole since. No bogeys today.
Didn't hit that one hard enough.
Nope.
Surprised he had quite that much of a lofted club, even though that is very swift going down there.
David, he played a sand wedge, and I felt like he should have hit a pitching wedge or a 9-iron. He had a very good lie and had a lot of green to work with. He just stubbed it a little bit, Jack.
Billy Ray Brown just showed him a ball. Is he taking that out of play? Or
well, he's asking him or showing him the ball. You must show it to the guy, and they have to agree that this ball, because of the drive or whatever shot Billy Ray scarred it up on.
Frank Hannigan, what's the rule on that? The rule on taking a ball out of play?
Well, the ball has to be cut so that it's no longer playable. It can't just be bruised or abrased, but it really has to be damaged so that it's unfit for play. And he has to get the agreement of his fellow competitor to do so.
Looked like that's what he was doing. Showed him the ball very clearly. Anyway, this is for a birdie. Could move him to within a shot of Donald, at least.
That won't get there.
Right you are, Jerry. Par, though, would keep him at 7 under. Now, Mike Donald for the par. He misses this, he'll have his first bogey of the day and will drop into a tie for the lead with Hale Irwin, whose work is done for this championship, unless there's a playoff.
This putt is just a little bit uphill, going to break from right to left, and it's just enough uphill, Jack, wouldn't you say, where a player could go for this one with a firm, aggressive stroke?
Well, I think so, Jerry. The pin's sitting in a funny place. I had a putt down about 6 feet from there, and it looked to me like the putt might go a little bit left, and the putt ended up going right. So if that holds true with Mike's putt, he doesn't have quite as much break as he's looking at. And the slope off the front of the green holds the ball from breaking. Now, I can't tell from here exactly how much it's going to break, but it's his probably should come a little bit left, but I don't think it'll come quite as much as he thinks. Let's hope he reads it right.
Oh, boy. Drilled it. Huh? He read it right, Jack.
Yep, it didn't break very much, did it?
No, it didn't. Great par. 12 after that drive.
That's why I guess I got to get my 50-year-old eyes checked.
Yes.
Oh, here's a guy who's had something of a reputation for having a good early round and then backing off it. He has not backed off once today. Faldo now. He must make this putt to have any chance. Oh, boy, huh? How close can you come? So there'll be no Grand Slam this year.
I think you can tell by the look on his face he thought he'd made that.
Yeah. Billy Ray Brown safely in with his par. Looked like he had an opportunity to gain on Donald, but not so. Mike Donald holding fast. Now Nick has to zero in a little bit and make the last one.
Well, that's quite a letdown there, too, because you know, he, as Jack said, that he really thought he'd made that. And it's got to be in the back of his mind that, hey, if I can win this one, wouldn't it be exciting at the Open at St. Andrews?
Okay. Nick Faldo making his par, having a 3-under par round of 69 to add to earlier rounds of 72, 72, and 68. And on he'll go to St. Andrews. And we'll be there too. So will you, Jack.
I'll be there.
Here it is again.
Well, that ball did break sharp, didn't it?
Yeah.
And it was going with good speed to it, too.
We noticed that 7 of the last 10 players who've gone through have bogeyed 16. We have that to look forward to with the last pairing. And there it is. Faldo and Irwin can do no more. Donald and Brown have plenty of room to go one way or the other. Norman is finished. Tim Simpson's still out there, but it's fading. Fuzzy Zeller, only 2 holes to play. Mark Brooks, 4 holes left. He'd have to really charge. More of the leaders, those who have played very well in this year's U.S. Open. 15th tee. Short par 4. Jack, how about this one today? How's it playing?
Tough, Jim. It's, normally it's a 3-wood off the tee. It's 243 yards to carry that bunker. And I don't think you can carry it into that wind, so the driver really is hit right into the narrowest part of that fairway with the trees on the right and the bunker. Well, he looks like he striped it.
Yeah.
Perfectly played.
Okay.
Beautiful tee shot. That was a tough tee shot today.
It's a lot harder hole. You see 384 and you think, well, gee, it looks like a birdie hole. It's giving players fits, that little hole.
Little driver and 5 or 6 iron today.
There's a lot of people, frankly, thought there you go with the 15th. Look at that. It's the shape of it. A
pin's in the back right today, and that's a very, very difficult pin position. It's just, you've got to hit the ball underneath the hole to have any chance at all.
Go the other one. Go the other one.
Oh, just did catch the bunker.
Oh, dear.
He can play from that bunker. It's not that bad, though.
You know, a lot of people thought going into this final day that Mike Donald, who's had one win in 11 years, and Billy Ray Brown, playing his first U.S. Open, might fold. So far, they've showed no signs of it. Curtis Strange. Oh, yes. Seems a little late. But on he goes, and we'll return with more golf action from the 1990 U.S. Open Golf Championship after this message and a word from our ABC stations.
If you see a bearish future in the decade ahead, consider the changes sweeping the world and the opportunities they offer. Then, take another look. At Merrill Lynch, our strengths and insight can help you realize those opportunities. Merrill Lynch, we're bullish on the 90s.
Nothing moves you. Cougar LS. It's sleek, like a cat. And its speed-sensitive steering gives it cat-like agility. You'll spend endless hours playing with it. In fact, this cat could become man's best friend. Cougar. All this and the quality of a luxury.
You can stand up on it like this.
The hits just keep on coming. Throw caution to the wind, America. It's America's funniest home videos. Sunday.
In America, more and more people are drinking German beer. And the German beer they're drinking more of is Beck's. Beck's, the #1 imported German beer.
This murder-suicide was just in the headlines, and already it's in production as a TV movie. Get the inside story only on Entertainment Tonight.
Monday at 7:30, right after Jeopardy.
What's the most significant improvement in golf club design in the past 10 years? It's the Callaway S2 H2. Callaway's new short, straight, hollow hosel moves the useless weight from the neck of the club to the hitting area. The hole-in-the-head concept gives the golfer extra power, longer flight, the most solid feel in golf.
The concept is so sound that we've carried it from the woods, through the irons, to our putters.
Callaway S2 H2, the golf club of the 90s.
Beers keep pouring in from all over the world, but the best beer still comes from Germany. And the best German beer in America is Beck's, the #1 imported German beer.
Anthony Hopkins is the 10th man, the late movie at 11:30. The 1990 U.S. Open Golf Championship, brought to you by Merrill Lynch. We're bullish on the 90s. And by True Value Hardware, for quality, selection, and personal attention. Make True Value Hardware your store of first choice.
That's the clubhouse at Medina, and here are the leaders. Mike Donald still by 1 over Hale Irwin, but he's in a bunker at the moment. 15. Nick Faldo just finished up his round. Billy Ray Brown out there with Mike Donald. Olazabal of Spain still having a good Open. Fuzzy Zeller, former Open champion, played extremely well here. Steve Jones shot 67 today. Larry Mize there. Did not play as well today. Hasn't been up to 17. Billy Ray Brown.
Billy Ray has 135. Into the wind with a 9-iron. Pin is all the way back, 21 deep.
That was a big tee shot there, wasn't it, Jerry?
He really worked on that one, Jack.
Mike Donald has already hit out of the bunker. We'll show you that in a minute. He obviously was away.
Long wind.
That's actually an 8-iron. He's just knocked it down, and it looks good. Needs to get up.
Yeah, backed off.
You can hear the caddy say, leave it alone, win. So tried to play a good shot. I mean, the right shot. Not to force a 9-iron back there.
You saw the other ball on the green, so that leads our story a little bit, because on tape, I'm sure we'll be seeing Mike Donald's shot. There. Tee shot was in the bunker, remember. You, Jack, said that he could play it.
He's probably playing a 6 or 7 iron, probably a 7 iron.
Get back to the hole.
And playing it well. How about that? So they're both on.
And they're both on the right part of the green to putt to.
Looking like match play at the moment. I'm sure Jack Whitaker has some views on this situation.
Well, Jim, thank you. It's quite simple. If you're just joining us, you've missed an incredible afternoon in United States Open history. The situation has come down to this now in the last hour. Hale Irwin has finished and posted 8 under. And he and the rest of the world are watching to see if Mike Donald can hold on at 9 under par. It is Mike Donald's tournament now to win or lose. He faces, first of all, the 8 under par posted by Hale Irwin and his playing partner, Billy Ray Brown. He is master of his fate at this moment, and it must be very lonely. Jim?
Thank you, Jack, and here he is. 11 years out there, 1 victory. That came last year, the Anheuser-Busch Classic in Williamsburg, Virginia. Has not had an outstanding season so far this year. If you look at Mike's record, he tied for 5th in the Atlanta Golf Classic. Aside from that, you see 5 times that he missed the cut, and you see ties for 65th and tied for 35th and things like that. And suddenly, after a week off, it's come together.
Maybe he'll learn to take a little time off, because he does play so much. They call him Iron Mike. He plays more than anybody, and certainly has in the last 10 years.
And Curtis Strange playing out the string at this point. 3rd consecutive Open Championship not to be. That'll be a par for Curtis, number 17, remaining at 2 under for the championship, but 3 over for the day.
He'll look back at that wedge shot at 7 was when it all started going bad for him.
Mike Donald. Yet another chance to go 10 under, and Jack, the historians of the USGA tell us that as far as research has shown, nobody at any moment in history has ever been 10 under in the U.S. Open.
Well, I don't recall it, Jim. I certainly don't. Obviously, it must be so.
Well, you hold most of the scoring records.
That's
you
right.
never got to 10.
I wasn't even close. I think I got, what was I, 8 under at Baltusrol?
That's the record.
Uphill from about 45 feet. Big left to right break.
Better hit it.
Big break.
Not quite enough.
Yeah, it's a very slow putt.
And Billy Ray had an opportunity to watch that one.
You haven't had a chance to watch Mike Donald today, Jack, but he has just played some marvelous shots starting right out. And his speed in putting has been very good. And the 2 times where it looked like he might bogey, there at 12 and at 14, he made both of those putts right in the heart.
Well, the little putt that he has right here, that's a new green, the 15th green. And I noticed as I was passing through there today that it was getting a little spiked up around the hole. And with that grain in the spike, he's got a touchy little putt left.
Still not quite enough.
Well, he had it right on line, though. Looked like his wife, Cindy, there was gasping for air, trying to get some deep breaths.
Wouldn't you be?
Oh, yes.
Ah.
You know, David, I wouldn't count Billy Ray out of this championship by any stretch of anyone's imagination. He's playing well. He's hit enough good shots to have confidence, and he's hit 1 or 2 scrambling poor shots and then recovered nicely. So, you know, a couple birdies, he could win it just as easily as Donald.
Well, you know, he started off at 7 under. He got it to 8 under, but then he bogeyed, or double bogeyed, 7, birdied 8, bogeyed 9, then had a birdie on 11 and parred everything else.
What I liked about Billy Ray's round today was after the double bogey at 7, he came right back and birdied 8.
Yep.
I mean, if you were going south, you wouldn't have hit that shot that he hit and make the putt.
Hale Irwin watching in our commentary position. They say they also serve who only stand and wait. If so, he's serving well. Down again. Why don't we meet Hale again with Roger?
Okay, thank you very much, Jim. And Hale, I know you've been watching. You've been in the press room, and Mike Donald birdied the first 2 holes, and he's made some great par saves here coming down the stretch.
Well, Mike is he's been around a while.
Yeah.
He's not a veteran of a lot of wins, but Mike has always been a good player, and I think he's finally developed a sense of what it takes to win, and he's proving, just as we're seeing him play, that he is just one of those players out there that is learning of himself, and he's got the game, and I think we have to give him credit. He's made some fabulous played some fabulous golf today.
You could be at 45 the oldest man ever to win an Open if things would work out right.
Well, I don't think Mike's thinking of that. That would be wonderful. Any Open, I'd like to be, as your colleague, Mr. Nicklaus, at 18 years old. He's had a pretty good career.
Yeah.
Fair career for an old guy.
Yeah.
And if we're sitting over here kidding with Jack, but it would be very nice. You know, I don't feel old.
Yeah.
I think you let yourself feel old, and I've tried to keep myself somewhat in shape. I've tried to keep myself thinking that I could still play, and maybe there's still some life in this player yet.
Billy Ray Brown on the tee now at 16.
Billy just taking a 2-iron off this tee, hole playing downwind. Perfect position there.
Jack, you got a question for Hale?
Yeah, Hale, you know, you played with Greg today, and everybody expected Greg to shoot that great round, and he got off to a great start. And it looked like, you know, I think if you're Greg's playing partner, it's almost like he takes you with him, you know, for those first few holes. And everybody's looking at Greg, and you're right there, and all of a sudden you start going. I mean, I watched the leaderboard and said, watch out there. I said, Irwin's the guy you're going to have to watch right now. And that was with about 7 or 8 holes to go. Did you sort of, is that sort of what you felt?
Well, Greg was putting on his normal scoring barrage, but he wasn't playing great. He birdied the 5th hole, driving it in the right bunker. He birdied the 6th hole, driving it in the right rough and playing a shot low, and how he got it out of that heavy rough. He birdied 10 from the right bunker.
But the point I'm making, though, is that the pressure is on him,
right,
not you at that point.
The only thing I kept saying to myself was, you know, just keep going. And keep going and feed off of that if you can. And as you say, you see it oftentimes where one will spur the other, and I think that momentum swing happened very quickly. I mean, I ran off 4 birdies in a row, and it was all of a sudden on top of me.
Those birdies, though, when you made 4 in a row, what, 3 of them were within, what, about 10 feet?
Oh, they were less than that. Number 11 was 6 feet, and number 12 was 3 feet, or maybe 4 feet, and number 13 was 2 feet. And the longest was a real long one at 14. It was 12 feet. So,
well, let's take a look now. I know when you were out there, Hale, obviously concerned with what you're doing. This is what Mike Donald did on the first hole. This is a birdie putt for Mike. And if there were any jitters at all, that probably dispelled them right there.
Anytime you can start like that, it really helps you get under control.
Now the second hole, that difficult par 3, and this is what Mike Donald did with his tee shot.
Ooh. Do I have to watch this?
We're going to make it. He got off to this start, hitting some good shots in the first 2 holes. Now this putt for birdie, and this to get him to 9 under par. And so there you have it. He birdies the first 2 holes. He gets himself to 9 under par. He gets himself in good position. And now we'll move to Hale Irwin at 18. And this putt for birdie, were you trying to make this or trying to get it down in 2?
No, you got to try and make it. At this particular juncture, you've got to give it your best shot and your best run. And what can you do except give it your best shot? I remember Jack Nicklaus jumping 6 feet off the ground. Who'd ever look at him now and think he could do it?
You look like you might just intercepted it.
Wait a minute. You're not 45. Look at you right around that green.
I was going to say, Jack, looked like he just intercepted a pass at Colorado and was running it back for a TD.
Oh, that never happened, though.
Now, 18, second shot for Curtis Strange.
Curtis is 180 yards from the hole.
Okay.
5-iron out.
Okay.
Stay there.
Safely on. Very, very disappointed with his iron game today. Just came over and talked to me. But he really didn't play very well. But they'll receive him here in just a minute. Meanwhile, we'll go back to the leader, Mike Donald. All right, now, Jack, 16 seems to have been playing with great difficulty today for most of the golfers.
Well, 16 off the tee. I think fellas are playing a little bit shorter club. I played a 5-wood off the tee, which most of the fellas are probably playing a 1-iron or 2-iron, and they're trying to put it into a position to where they can play about a 5-iron to the green. And I think that Mike looks like he's about in that position, but the wind is really tricky there. I think that it can either take your second shot or knock it down. I know it knocked my ball down into the bunker, and I hit a good solid shot. Now, you've got to get it up, and you've got to let it ride a little bit from the wind coming left, right, and behind you.
Jack, I was almost in the exact spot where Mike is and hit a 3-iron.
Boy, he's bailed that one out to the right. Not a good shot at all.
Nope. In the bunker. You see it right there at the bottom of the bunker.
Well, if he had to miss this green, that would be the best place to miss it with the flag back. He's going to have a somewhat of an easier shot out of that bunker than he would in the rough.
He has space, but it's not a very easy bunker shot.
Jack, Peter Allis was saying earlier that he thinks maybe the most dramatic development in the game in the last few years has been the way all of you fellas have made the up and down semi-automatic out of the bunker.
I don't know who he's talking about. Don't include me in that list.
He's not talking about Jack. All right.
You want me to be impolite, David? Give me a break.
No, I think that a lot has happened. I think that courses are making a much bigger effort nowadays to
That's a 5-iron right. Oh, right at the flag. Again. Just didn't get up. That was a lot of ground to cover.
Yep.
200 yards.
But I think the courses are making a lot bigger effort, Jim, to put better sand and get the courses in better condition. And as a result, the fellas are getting better with their bunker shots.
Good point. Here was the reception for Curtis Strange a few seconds ago. So in that shadowy battle, the ghost of Willie Anderson has won today. He is still the only man to have won 3 U.S. Opens in a row. But Curtis sure gave it a try. Not the fist in the air this time, but the tight smile of a gallant competitor. And he didn't stop quite that quick, but there it is. Well, Donald by 1 in the bunker. Irwin sitting up with us with that 67 today. Faldo is out of it. Billy Ray Brown is in it, but he's in the bunker. All of these just out of the competition right now, but can go home with some satisfaction. They played the U.S. Open very well at Medina in '90. I pick out some of your favorites there. Jimmy Benaby had a lot of supporters. He went to Northwestern University and won his only tournament here, the Western Open, the first tournament he ever played in. Ian Woosnam ended up at 2 under. Larry Nelson at 2 under, did not play well today. Azinger and Ozaki. Mike Reed dropped back today. Phil Mickelson, the low amateur, at even par, and that's a great performance. He's the left-hander from Arizona State. You'll be hearing a lot about him. He's still in school. David Frost, South African, 1 over. Bobby Watkins, brother to Lanny. Steve Pate, no kin to Jerry. Tway, the former PGA champion. Aoki from Japan. 10 years ago, he battled it out with you, Jack. Mark Brooks for a birdie. But that puts him at 5 under, and he only has 1 hole left to play. Yes, that was yesterday when he threw it in the water.
He told me he was going to throw it in there no matter what.
Oh, this is today again.
Oh, yeah.
I thought you were throwing tape up on me there.
No, no.
Curtis at 18. And the par tap in for Curtis will give him a 3-over par round, 75. Now, Mike Donald.
He has about an 80-foot bunker shot with about 50 of that to carry the bunker. Wasn't a good lie. And he hit a fine shot out of that lie. The ball was sitting kind of down.
Well, I don't know how long a man can keep making putts like that for par, and he's made a couple of them today. That's his mother. Mike is a bachelor. Most of the men battling for this title have been fathers on this Father's Day. Now Billy Ray looking it over. His first U.S. Open ever. What a job he's done.
Billy Ray with a much easier bunker shot, Jim. Better lie, a lot closer to the flagstick. He can hit this ball up and spin it. Try to keep it below the hole.
Yep, pulled up on him. So, beginning to run out of holes.
Those automatic up and downs you were talking about are
yes.
a little bit of work, Jim.
What happens to them in the last 3 holes of the U.S. Open?
It's a little different, but you see an awful lot of good bunker play and better bunker play, I think, through the years.
Oh, yeah.
Hale Irwin, the 16th hole here at Medina, has been one of the most difficult. Mike Donald now out of the bunker, and he's left himself a bit of a downhill putt for par.
Well, the difficult part, as we've talked before, is that you really can't see. You can see the flagstick, but you can't see the putting surface. And where Mike was playing from, there's more of a hill in the fairway that obscures the green. It is a hard shot. As Jack mentioned, the wind is playing havoc with the shot up in the air. Now, the putt he has is going to be downhill, and it should swing to his right somewhat. I had a putt coming right up the hill, I thought, that was, again, straight, but it broke to my left, which is, as we're seeing it now, is to the right. But again, Mike has been stroking the ball extremely well and obviously reading the greens well.
How much faster, if any, were the greens today than in previous days?
I don't think they were that much faster. Again, with the overnight rain we had, we never achieved that open speed that we've talked about, and those of us that have played through the years have seen some of the really fast greens. Unfortunately, the weather just did not permit that this week.
Mike Donald has not made a bogey today. This putt for par to maintain a one-shot lead over Hale Irwin.
Starting to get interesting.
How do you feel now?
I feel one stroke better.
We're now tied. Hale Irwin, Mike Donald at 8 under par. First bogey of the day for Mike Donald, who had made a couple of beautiful saves here on the backside for par. And 2 holes left to play, the most difficult 17th, the par 3, and then the par 4 18th. Now Billy Ray Brown, he has this putt also for par to remain 1 shot back at 7 under.
I had that identical putt earlier, and that putt looks like it breaks left, but mine tailed right.
Billy Ray Brown will drop to 6 under, 2 out of the lead, but we have a tie between Irwin and Donald. Donald has 2 to play. Golf has been a hard game for tall men. Kerry Middlecoff was a 6 feet 3 inch bundle of nerves from Tennessee. He won the first Open played here at Medina in 1949. Middlecoff was a great driver of the ball with a singular swing idiosyncrasy. He did a full stop at the top. Middlecoff, a bright and intense man, practiced dentistry as a young U.S. Army officer before he turned pro.
Sharp. When I say sharp, I mean
business.
I mean
Technology on the cutting edge.
sharp.
Color technology, color scanners, printers, and copiers for high-impact presentation.
Sharp.
Laser fax technology, laser quick, laser clear.
I mean
Microtechnology, the wizard, the electronic organizer. Information at your command.
I mean
Technology on the cutting edge.
When I say sharp, I mean business.
You need a fourth?
Well, not really. God, let him hit. What's it?
The longest hitters hit the longest balls. Top Flight, the longest balls.
Pretty good, kid.
Top Flight Plus 2, the longest balls, have a 422 tri-dimple design and thin responsive cover, which means the longest balls perform at distances you wouldn't have thought possible. Top Flight Plus 2, the longest balls.
Under 2 miles of solid rock, under the beds of prehistoric seas, BP added millions of barrels of oil to American reserves last year with a new way of drilling, sideways. And that's a turn in the right direction. BP.
Hale Irwin and Mike Donald tied for the lead as Donald comes to the final 2 holes. The 17th is a par 3. Our associate producer, Ben Harvey, said that it should be called the Lake Kadijah Triangle. Many golfers have been known to enter here and never be heard from again. That was certainly true of Ian Woosnam. It was true of Scott Simpson. Mike Donald on trial now.
This hole playing 154 downhill. The wind has died down somewhat. Not much of a factor. Mike with an 8-iron. Boy, what a good-looking shot.
And look where his fellow competitor is, who hit before him, Billy Ray Brown. They both bogeyed the 16th hole. Billy Ray would have to birdie the last 2 to have a chance at a playoff. And here was the shot. If he makes that putt, a birdie on 18 could put him into a playoff. We'll return with more golf action from the 1990 U.S. Open Golf Championship. We'll do that after this message and a word from our ABC stations.
My 3 sons know that it's quality that keeps us in business.
So we spend a lot of time and effort researching club performance. We want the club to perform as well as you do.
We custom fit you, then custom build Ping Eye 2s to fit you whether you're short or tall.
We use state-of-the-art technology so that you're playing the same club Ping Tour players have proven.
Ping golf clubs for those who want to play their best.
A century of incredible change. Merrill Lynch believes it will culminate in a decade of extraordinary opportunity, and our insight can help you make the most of it. Merrill Lynch, we're bullish on the 90s.
Sunday. This is the big one, 007.
Sean Connery is James Bond.
Get down!
You only live twice. Sunday.
#1 in import owner loyalty for 1985.
#1 in customer satisfaction for 1986. One of Car and Driver's 10 best cars for 1987. The 1988 Motor Trend Import Car of the Year. The best-selling car in America in 1989. Many of these pre-owned award-winning Hondas are available once again at your Tri-Honda dealer.
It's time to get a cellular phone, but where do you go when everybody wants to sell you one? Hardware stores, discount stores, car stereo stores. It's a cellular jungle out there. Better come to a NYNEX Cellular Center. Our professionals will set you straight with answers on cellular communications and our selection of quality portable and installed phones. The reassuring fact is, for mobile communications, the answer is NYNEX.
From all of us at Channel 7, Happy Father's Day, Dad.
ABC's coverage of the 1990 U.S. Open Golf Championship continues.
Will it be 34-year-old Mike Donald, the 11-year touring pro, the journeyman? Or will it be Hale Irwin winning his 3rd United States Open? Nobody's ever won exactly 3 in their careers. There are people who won 4, a number who have won 2. Nobody's ever won exactly 3. Or will Billy Ray Brown sneak in there and force a 2- or 3-way playoff? Well, first, Donald on 17.
All day this putt hasn't been as fast as people think it is. All the players are playing more break.
A little tentative on that, Jack?
Well, I just think the green reads that way. I mean, it reads that it's going to be faster than that and it's going to break more than that. And I've seen, you know, at least I did that and I saw several other people do that.
Sure.
You leave yourself one that you really don't want to make. I mean, that you have to make, I mean.
Looking forward to 18 as Donald play